We've got Paige Pradko joining us this evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to be here.
It's good to talk to you again.
Yes, great to talk to you, Bianca. It's been, we were just saying, it's just, it was in a few months ago we talked, but it's just gone by just so quickly.
So
Yeah.
quick. Absolutely. Yeah. Easter soon, huh?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So tonight we're going to talk about couples counselling. And you did mention to me that you were trained, a Gottman trained couples therapist. So if you could just explain what that is.
Absolutely. When I began working with couples, I realized relatively quickly that I felt a little lost in how to help them. And so I searched out really a research-based method on how to help couples. And I discovered John Gottman and Julie Gottman. John Gottman is a professor, or he was a professor anyway, at University of Washington in Seattle. And he spent the last 50 years researching couples. And he had actually an apartment that he called the Love Lab. And he researched thousands of couples, and they would come and stay in the apartment and he would research them. And he, over time, developed a large base of research on what couples do when they report that they're very happy together and they're very satisfied in their relationship. He documented what they're actually doing and why they're happy. And he also recorded couples that are not happy, what they're doing, and started researching, could we teach the couples that are not happy to do the things that the happy couples are doing? John Gottman's kind of claim to fame is that he can predict with over 90% accuracy if a couple will be divorced, if they're married, if they'll be divorced, or if they'll split up if they're not married. And he can even predict when exactly that will happen to over 90% accuracy within a matter of minutes. And so there are real behaviors, real distinct behaviors that couples are doing that are in trouble. Yeah. So anyway, I went out for training with him, and I actually met therapists from all over the world. He's probably the most renowned researcher and trainer in couples therapy.
How interesting to sort of realize in the first few minutes of, is that watching their behavior or asking them specific questions as well?
Just watching their behavior.
Watching them. How
Yes.
Interesting, because it's a lot of it is body language of things that we don't say, as we know.
Yeah, some of it is in our expressions, in our gaze, in our facial expressions, body behavior, but a lot of it is also in what we say and how we interact with our partners.
How interesting. Well, look, I just a few statistics in Australia. Approximately 3,000 couples get divorced after 4 years of marriage, and 39% of marriage in the United States end in divorce. So just a couple of little stats there to start off with. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, when they've done research on couples, if we're talking about married couples, but the same goes for couples that are not married but are in a relationship, the breakups seem to happen in two different peaks. They happen within the first 50% of divorces happen within the first, or breakups happen in the first 7 years. The average is 5.2 years actually is the first peak. And these are couples that have a lot of negativity between them. And then the second peak over the lifetime of a relationship, the second breakup is in between like 16 to 20 years. And they call these marriages kind of dead marriages. They've become very emotionally distant. Yeah.
And okay, so a few things I want to go through is
Sure.
like the reasons. I mean, look, I came across a few, financial problems, as we know, that's usually a big one. Lack of communication, infidelity, substance abuse, the sex has gone out of the marriage, or relationship, a lot of those sort of things. But from your knowledge and experience, why do couples, sort of go to therapy? What are the, let's say, two or three main things that are the issues?
Yeah, it's so interesting because all of those things that you mentioned um, are a lot of maybe myths that are out there. There are a lot of myths about financial
That's
problems
true.
or a lot of conflict or all kinds of stress or financial issues. Um, the main reason that couples decide to split um, are because they've lost their friendship.
Oh,
And in some rather large studies that they have done, couples have reported that they really just drifted apart. Their friendship just
yeah.
drifted apart, and they just didn't feel loved and appreciated anymore. Now, that's over 80% of the couples. Close to 20% did report affairs, but even in
Mm,
those cases, they report that they just didn't feel loved and connected and appreciated with their partner anymore.
mm.
Yeah.
It's interesting
And
to hear that. Yeah.
it is. And when couples first come to therapy, uh, they're really not everybody is going to benefit from couples therapy. And so there is an assessment period that goes on where I meet with the couple first and I hear their story. And even the first question that you ask is, I might sit down and I might ask a little bit about, well, tell me, how did the two of you meet? And when a couple
Mm,
tells their story about how they actually met each other, you can tell right away what's going on in that relationship. Some couples have a lot of details and they go into it, the whole story, and there's a lot of an emotional investment in those relationships. And other couples almost act like they don't remember, like, oh, how did we meet again? Kind of this almost like a disengaged, they don't remember. But there's a lot of assessment that goes on. I send each couple home with individual packets where they're doing questionnaires. I'm assessing how they feel about their marriage. And then I'm bringing them back individually. We have individual
yes.
sessions with each of them where we're going over their questionnaires. And what you discover many times is that, in fact, Gottman has shown in his research over 50% of the time, they are using couples therapy to exit the marriage. They've already checked out, or at least one member has checked out of the marriage or the relationship. And they're using couples therapy as a vehicle to get out of the relationship. And so I try to wean those couples out right off the bat, because at that point, it is only going to hurt the partner that is trying, because the other one will sabotage the therapy because they want out, or sometimes they both want out, and they just want to tell people that, well, we tried couples therapy and it didn't work.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
you want to wean those out and have them go to individual therapy. Couples therapy would not be beneficial. And also, if there's an ongoing affair, that's not going to be helpful either. And so I'm going to refer them out to individual. I really only want to work with couples that are both interested in working on the relationship, so that I don't hurt either one of them, that,
Yeah.
going through therapy that is not going to be effective for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what the ratio is of people that come to therapy, the couples. You said, sometimes they're coming to therapy to get out of it. So, or to say, okay, I tried, but it didn't work. But is it mostly people seeking out therapy to make it work? Or is it like half? Some people just saying it just
Yeah.
to tick
Yeah.
that box.
Right. Actually, a little more than half come to couples therapy. They're going to make an appointment, as I said, as a vehicle to get out of the marriage. And so less than half of the people actually want to work on it.
Gee whiz.
And so those people that really want to work on it, I can tell through all their questionnaires. And we're very honest.
Yeah.
I will be very honest with them when one of them, which I see very often, is one of them wants to work on it and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
And so we really talk about that and try to get each of them the support that they need.
Mm.
But most, when they come in, they are feeling, many of them, victimized, misunderstood,
Yeah.
stressed, maybe in an attack defend mode. or they're completely emotionally disengaged. Those are really relationships that are very difficult to get things going again once they're completely emotionally disengaged with each other.
Gee, so how I wonder how you'd start that process. Is it sort of saying what is it that you found that you liked about this person when you first met? Is it starting little seeds, little sort of mild questions like that to instill that bit of light and hope to as a basis to get started?
Yeah, what couples really do bring in with them the work that needs to be done. They when they fill out their questionnaires, and that's another reason why Gottman's program is so wonderful, is he gives you a lot of tools to really assess exactly where their problems are. And couples have particular problems. And in Gottman's research, we are teaching them, we're trying to teach them in their particular problem areas what they can do instead. You know, maybe we're teaching them different ways to have conflict, different ways to communicate, what they can do to be more positive in their relationship. We're teaching a lot of connection skills. And so I start off by really reviewing the plan to them. This is what your questionnaires showed, that these are the particular problem areas, and make sure that we're all in agreement on what we're going to work on. And then I have a lot of work to do at that point. So I usually start with their connection. What kind of friendship do they have? How connected are they? What are they doing to keep their friendship alive?
Yeah, that's really important. And you mentioned friendship before, and it just made me think, you know, the successful marriages or coupling, you know, even not being married, the people that are friends, they always say what saved us was the foundation of friendship. When all the fizz and excitement's gone, and you know, that honeymoon phase, and you're getting older, and you know, sort of less physical attraction, you know, as people sort of get older, those sort of things aren't as important. Just depends, really. I mean, the sex for everyone is different in different stages, so you can't really generalize on that. But basically, friendship was very important.
It's the most important. It's how, you know, how interested are you in your partner? Are you interested in what they're doing on a daily basis? Do you know their deepest inner world? Do you know what they care about? Do you know what fears they have, what dreams they have? Like, how updated are you in their life? You know, you would be surprised that so many people don't know what's going on in their partner's life. They don't know what their partner really likes. They don't even know what their partner's doing today. And so it's kind of surprising when you begin to work with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, there's a show, you have MAFS, Married at First Sight, in America, don't you?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think you got the Aussie one too last year, didn't you?
We could see that. I haven't watched that one, but oh my gosh, what a show, huh?
So you've got the American
yes
one.
Yes.
Oh, right.
We do get the Australian one. Yeah, it's completely dysfunctional. I sometimes wonder where do they find these couples, but actually, you know, this season is kind of atrocious, but last season they had a couple of cute couples on there. So,
and it seemed sort of genuine, like people were putting the best foot forward, like they were genuine about it, or they just wanted to go on to sort of get a bit of, you know, airtime.
I think that is just not a great idea, that whole show, but it sure is entertaining.
Oh, it sure is.
You know, I sometimes wonder, okay, I don't think any assessments went into the matching of these couples at all. Like, this was really, maybe they were matched just for the drama.
True story, true story. You hear that. Actually, I interviewed a couple of people that were on MAFS, and you know, even, you know, behind the scenes, you know, you wonder if the show does, like, if someone said, this is a bad example, but I don't like guys that go skydiving, let's just say.
Right.
And then they couple them with someone who loves skydiving. So
exactly.
we missed that memo, you know?
Yes, exactly. I always kind of laugh when they say, you know, well, I can understand why the experts matched us. And I'm thinking they didn't match you based on anything with research according to relationships.
Exactly.
Oh, but it is entertaining. It's like an accident. You can't look away, right? Oh
Exactly.
boy.
Speaking of that, after this, I'm going to watch tonight's episode because I missed it.
Oh gosh.
But I think I like the people sort of the interviewing of the people, getting to know the human side of them and
Yes.
how they react. And it's all of that too.
Yes.
And it's a very popular show. Actually, I think it's the most highly rated show here in Australia at the moment, the most
Yeah,
watched
really.
show. Yes.
Well, I'm going to have to catch up on the Australian one. It is interesting because you can see that each person has their own culture. They're from their own culture. They have their own personality, and then how these two people mesh. Are they going to create
Mm,
their own
yeah.
culture together? Because each family is a little culture. Are
Mm,
they going to create their own together, or are they each going to stay rooted in who they are and get really into gridlock and not budge,
mm.
so it's interesting. Yeah.
The reason why I brought maths up is because, when I was watching some couples, I thought, when the going gets tough, they were literally out the door. And I thought, based on what the girl had done, I thought, well, maybe I've done that. Like, she didn't even do anything that wrong. It was just some communication error, or she reacted. And I thought, gee, based on that, I should have been divorced like ages ago and many times over. They're leaving over
Right,
nothing, really.
right,
And when I
right,
was looking, I thought, really, the person didn't care about the other person. Like, one person was sort of explaining that they'd been hurt and they've got a couple of children, and they've got these emotional sort of scars. But the person had checked out. It was like, if
right,
that person didn't tick that box and that box, I'm out. And I thought, there's no, and I thought, people that are successful in their relationships, they care about the human, like you said before. What
yeah,
makes them tick? What do they like? It's
right,
caring
right.
about the soul of the person, and when they're hurting, to have that, to feel their pain.
Absolutely. And I really wish, whenever I watch the show, I really wish that somebody would sit down with these couples and really teach them. Because if they knew the research on couples, it's the same for all couples. It's the same on what people are doing. And if they knew what to do and really where to watch themselves, they could really give
Mm.
themselves a fighting chance. And I mean, I'll give you a little bit of what is dysfunctional in relationships,
Yes,
what
please.
what actually leads to breakups. And then I'll give you a little bit about what the research says for healthy relationships and what healthy
Thank you.
relationships do. And so, the way I explained before that Gottman is so famous for his ability to predict divorce, there are some behaviors that predict divorce. And he calls four of them, he calls them the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And I don't know if you've heard these, but they've been out, this research has been out for a while. So the first one is criticism. And Gottman will tell you, John Gottman will say, there is absolutely no place in a relationship for criticism. Now, we all criticize sometimes. And so all of these things that I'm going to be stating, every couple does. It's just that the couples that lead to breaking up do it a lot more and more
Right.
intensely.
Yes.
And so he says, we really cannot criticize somebody in a global way, their core personality. But we can complain. Humans can complain. And also defensive-ness, where if you get into a conflict and a person's attitude is, it is all 100% you. I'm an angel. I did nothing. It is all you. If someone cannot take a little bit of responsibility or a little bit, admit a little bit of their role in a conflict, then that's an indicator of divorce. Another behavior called stonewalling.
Oh.
Stonewalling is when someone is actually, they get kind of upset in a conflict and they shut down. And so they turn away, they cross their arms, they're very quiet. And what they're really doing is trying to calm themselves, but they might not even be aware that their heart rate is probably over 100 beats a minute at that point. And so the antidote for that is really that person learning to soothe themselves, taking a break from the conflict and soothing themselves. And then the final of the four horsemen of the apocalypse is contempt. And this is the big one. So contempt, what he means by that is when a partner takes on an attitude that they are superior to their partner. They are kind of on a higher level, a higher ground, and it might be a lot of name calling and so forth. And so we see this a lot on that show. And instead, a person needs to really create what Gottman calls it, like a culture of appreciation, a lot of appreciation. And some other things that they do, couples that have trouble, is in conflict, they don't know how to repair. So all couples have conflict. Conflict is normal. And no couple should be think that because they have conflict, that's some kind of a red flag. No, every couple, even the really happy couples, have conflict. It's just that they know how to repair it afterwards. They know how to they know how to have a dialogue around things that even if they have different viewpoints, they know how to kind of have a respectful dialogue about it. And if the conflict goes south and gets heated, they know how to take a break and then come back to it and talk about it. Yeah.
Perfect. Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent points there.
Yeah. Would you like to hear a little bit about the research on what healthy relationships do?
Oh, absolutely. We'd all love to know if we're doing the right thing, eh?
Yeah. I know that after I went for training, I thought, oh, my relationship is pretty good. But after I went to be trained by the Gottmans, I will say that it just improved our relationship so much. I learned so many things to do that I wasn't doing. And so I think everybody can be helped by this in whatever kind of relationship that you're in. So healthy couples, as we said, their foundation is their friendship. They do things, and they have things like eye-to-eye conversations for a few, like even 10 minutes every day, where they are catching up with what's going on in their partner's life. They're always interested in what their partner is doing. And it's, this foundation is the key to any healthy relationship. But another thing they're doing is they express appreciation and love or fondness. They express it every single day. This is something I was maybe lazy about before I was really trained in Gottman therapy. Is you kind of think like, oh, your partner knows that. But no, we have to get over our pride, and we have to really express it. And we have to, it can be expressed in all kinds of ways. Even telling somebody, oh, I really like that, you look great in that shirt, something, little things, but expressing fondness and admiration.
Lovely.
Couples do something called bids for connection. And I'm going to give a little story to explain what I mean by this, but you'll start to notice your own bids for connection in relationships. So I give a little story, and let's just say we're watching a couple and they're driving in the car. And for the sake of the story, I'm going to use a male-female. So we're going to say the male is driving, and they're driving in the countryside. And let's say the female says, oh, look at that farm over there. Doesn't that remind you of Uncle Harry's farm? And the male driving says, don't talk to me while I'm driving, And I mean, of course, that would be terrible if somebody actually did that, but that's called a failed bid. She made a bid to connect with him by saying something, and he was negative, and so that's a failed bid. Right. Or she could have said the same thing. Look at that farm out the window. And he could have just been silent and not said a word. And so both of those examples are what you call failed bids. And couples that have failed bids, the other partner will stop bidding completely. And that couple will become emotionally disengaged. And so a positive bid is she says, look at that farm out the window. And he says, oh yeah. Now he doesn't have to say a lot, but it connected. And then he might say, oh, look at that color on that barn. I love that color. And, and they just kind of ping pong back and forth. So nothing is wrong if a couple is silent in the car. Couples ask me that all the time. Well, is something wrong if we're quiet? Nothing's wrong with that. It's just that when somebody makes a bid, you want that bid received. and reciprocated. And so couples that report that they're very happy, they do a lot of these bids back and forth. They might even do 70 bids in 10 minutes. They do a lot of these bids. Really? And there is also something that John Gottman calls positive sentiment override. And what that means is that this couple has an overall really good feeling about each other and about their relationship. And there is, in research that's been proven over and over again, there is a 5-to-1 ratio where 5 positives can be knocked out by 1 negative. And so if you think of every relationship being like an emotional bank account, where you're depositing these positive encounters with your partner, and 1 negative wipes out 5 positives. Wow. You know that there has to be a lot of positives. And so couples that are really healthy have a lot of positives. And a positive can be anything from from a hug to a, kiss goodbye in the morning to, it can be a look, it can be a smile, it can be saying something in a positive way, all kinds of things. And I think we all know the negatives. Negatives can be a look, it can be an avoidance, it can be a comment or no comment at all. Yeah. And just a few other things, but couples that are healthy, they really do know how to manage their conflict, as I mentioned earlier. And they also really support and honor each other's dreams. And they have kind of shared meaning in their relationship, kind of shared dreams too.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Support the individual's dreams and combined dreams. That's an important one.
Yeah.
Now, that was interesting. I just want to backtrack just a little bit on one or two points. Just you said silence is a failed bid, and that's so interesting because we hear people saying, I mean, look, it's even happening. My husband said, when you talk to Paige, don't talk about us, but I can't help it. We had coffee this morning. He goes, don't mention me. I said, I'll try.
It's in all of our relationships, we all do the things that we're not supposed to do, right? We all do those, but it's just if in the end we have more positive than negative, we're good. Perfect. Because every relationship is going to have a negative here and there, and we just want to store up to have a little more positives than negatives, and we'll be good. We'll be Absolutely. Good because relationships can handle a lot as long as we have that positivity there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say about the silence is a failed bid, like, when I come home, Peter's great, like he's, cooking and doing things. He's got his headphones on, and I say, I want to talk to you a little bit. Can you take the headphones off because he's got the news on and let's just talk. And he's like, okay, let's talk. Anyway, I'm talking and I don't hear anything back. And I say, did you hear that? He goes, yeah, I heard. I said, but I need you to say that you heard, or because it feels like I'm not talking to anyone. And he goes, no, I am listening. And I just found that interesting because nothing went wrong there, but I just felt like, I wanted just a or something, like not just silence.
Yes. Yeah. I think we're married to the same person. I didn't realize we were married to the same person.
That's funny.
I think that's very common in relationships, that one person is expressing and the other one is not giving any indication that they have just heard. And so, that has to be talked about in the relationship, that, it just makes me feel like I'm, maybe you don't care if you're not signaling me that you're listening. And so even
maybe they didn't hear it or they didn't understand it.
Right. Even a little head nod, even a little, even a little bit can give the indication that you've been heard. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's all those small things, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's just these little things. And, what you just mentioned is like very, very common, but we don't want to let it go. We want to communicate when we're feeling like, boy, we didn't feel listened to. Yeah.
And I think it's good to raise things there in the moment and not ignore it and let it build up. That's one thing I think I don't like. I don't sort of like letting little things go. I think just address it there and then, because things can build
Right.
up in our subconscious, and then, you know, a year later we explode.
It's so true. It really can. It can build up and build resentment, and pretty soon people just shut off and they just
Yeah,
don't, you know, you
that's
don't
true.
want to get to that point. So it's
Yeah.
the really healthy couples are able to make those little repairs right in the moment. Sometimes couples do need to take a break. There's nothing wrong with that, taking a little time and then coming back to it. But we
Yeah.
always want to process things with each other
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah.
And one thing I liked about what you said, another, you know, amongst many things, many good things you said, was the eye contact. So I think that's important, isn't it? Like, I think, did I see somewhere they said that we should look at our partner's eyes for like something like even just 3 minutes a day is enough to just keep us connected. Doesn't seem like much, but you can imagine if people were busy, they work different shifts, they probably wouldn't look at each other in the eye for 3 minutes.
Right. And this is something that I bring up with every single couple I work with is there is so much research on eye to eye contact. So
Yeah.
couples, and I will tell them it really what the research says is we only need about 10 minutes a day. It's not a lot of time to invest into your relationship. That put down the devices and sit where you can really look at each other in the eye. And, you know, my husband has long work hours and he comes home late at night. And I might be, you know, I'm only human, and I might build up a little resentment that he's gone so much. But the minute he comes home, we have a ritual, and he sits across from me. We start to share our day. We talk a little bit, and within a few moments of that eye contact, my little attitude of resentment just kind of fades away because we're connected again. And so it's so important. And the research is that couples need to do that every day, you know, that eye to eye contact. And it only takes a few minutes, and it's only about sharing. It's not a time for conflict or anything. It's just about sharing the day. So couples have a lot of these connections. They have, you know, hello, goodbye connections and rituals, dating rituals, nighttime rituals. All of these rituals are really important to the couple.
Another good thing you said, dating, because, you know, if people have been going out for many, many years, they forget to go on a date. We hear that so many times. Oh, I need a date with my husband. I haven't seen him, or my partner, or whatever, whoever.
Yeah. There, it's again, I'll go back to Gottman's research, but he does say that about 2 hours away from the house is really important for the couple, no matter what they do. 2 hours away a week is wonderful. And I usually suggest to my couples, I don't like it to be one person's responsibility to plan dates. And so I suggest to the couples I'm working with that take turns every other week. It's the other one's responsibility to plan the date. Doesn't have to be anything grandiose, but I usually say the only rule is you can't complain. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Even though Gottman says you're allowed to complain, I think like if someone's going to plan a date, then let's be positive about it, you know, and go for a little surprise. And maybe you don't know what you're doing that night. And it's, I think that's wonderful. Yeah.
That's right. To have appreciation for what's going on, the meaning of it. Not, I mean, someone might make a meal that's not nice for their partner. It might not taste like fantastic, but just the fact that they made the meal, it's fine.
Yes,
it's a lovely gesture.
Right.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Like you said, well, it doesn't matter where we go for the date. It's a date.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, yeah, I think when we were, I did want to mention something about couples in conflict that I don't want to forget to mention because I like couples to know this information, that every couple will have what we call unsolvable problems. In fact, they have done research that only with couples, only 31% of problems that they have, conflicts, are actually solvable. That the 69% of their problems are called perpetual problems. Every couple has 2 or 3 of them, and they're because of personality differences, and they will never be solved no matter what. 69% of your problems. And so Gottman will always talk about, hey, whoever you pick, whoever your partner is, you're going to have 2 or 3 problems. It's just what kind of problems do you want? It depends on who you pick, right? You're going to have 2 or 3 problems, and they're perpetual problems. And you have to learn how to a little bit respect your partner's view and them respect yours and have respectful dialogue about it. And so these are usually, most couples will know what their 2 or 3 issues are. Sometimes their work-home balance, or the way we spend money, or the way we parent, or how we're going to spend vacations, or, they have these issues where they just never are quite on the same page. And they have to have respectful dialogue about these things, because every relationship has them.
And what a smart thing for him to say. I mean, that makes so much sense, because often people always think it's the grass is greener on the other side, and if only I get the person that loves everything that I love, and then I'll be perfect. Everything will be perfect. No. Right.
And that's what, oh, I have these problems with this person. I should try the next person. No, you're always going to have 2 or 3 issues, no matter who you pick.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to backtrack once again, because I just like to mention these points that you mentioned as well. You said 2 hours out of the house. How important is that? Because we get stuck in our rooms. So I know in my house, my husband's office is his man cave. He's got everything there that he needs. He's got a TV, he's got his computer, a couple of computers, a home computer, work computer. He's got the news feed. He's got even a little screen for a little movie playing there. I mean, that's his man cave, right?
He's got everything.
Then I've got my yoga room, my candles, my YouTube for my videos, and we can just get stuck apart.
And it's been really hard during the pandemic, right? During COVID, it's been really hard. Because we haven't been able to do. I know in the US things are just beginning to open up now because people are getting vaccinated, but it's been a tough year. And but this 2 hours away from the house, even if it's just a walk, even if it's just a little drive adventure, anything, couples need new experiences and new environments together. It kind of keeps the relationship alive to have these new experiences. And so it is really healthy. And I do like the idea of being surprised sometimes, having somebody plan something and then you plan something for them. It just adds a little more excitement, when someone surprises you. When our my children are grown, but when they were younger, we used to do this once a week during the week. And my husband, I would get so excited, but sometimes in the middle of winter, he was just driving to the mall and we were walking around the mall. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't a date, but it actually was fun just to get away, he and I, and do something.
With the children or without the children?
No, the kids stayed home. They were old enough to stay home.
Just the 2 of you, right?
Just the 2 of us. Yeah. It's just with the couple. Yeah.
And what would you do there? Have coffee, see the shops?
Yeah, he just wanted to go for a walk. It was the middle of winter and he wanted to go for a walk. And it was, we can't have this grandiose kind of expectation about the date. It's just more about time together, right?
Yeah. Now, I'm just curious, when you say mall, is that like a shopping complex, like, undercover, or is a mall like a mall is an open mall? Because there's sort of
they have both kinds here, but this kind was an enclosed where all the stores are inside, like, and you kind of walk inside, and it's nice to go in the middle of winter because it's so cold.
Course, winter, yeah. I think we do that here in summer too, because it's so hot sometimes. People go to the shopping centers and the malls a lot because it's air conditioned. You can just sit there, see the shops.
Right. Yeah. That's but we haven't been for a long time because of the pandemic. So, we've been doing all of our walking outside, So
what's it like there? Is it?
Well, things were very,
is that right?
Yeah, things were very closed up. All the restaurants and stores for a while were closed. Not the essential stores. And now things just opened up just within a couple of weeks ago. The restaurants not at full capacity, but about half capacity right now.
And also, do you have to wear your mask when you go out or not?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Still?
Yes.
Was it Texas? What part of? I did see somewhere on the news that
Yeah.
somewhere they
Yeah,
said no masks, and Biden was
Oh,
upset.
there are masks turned into a very political thing in the
Yeah,
US,
definitely.
unfortunately. And Texas just decided they were not going to, I think yesterday, maybe they just said they were not going to require masks anymore. But I have a lot of friends in Texas that they still are wearing masks. So I think it's an individual thing.
But what if someone's been vaccinated? Do they still have to wear the mask? Last question on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're, it depends on what the regulation is by state. Every state is different. But it appears that if they're vaccinated, they're safe. But I think that not everybody is vaccinated yet. And so I think that a lot of governors are trying to keep us wearing them until a larger percentage are vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood. All right. Anything else we need to know about before we finish off? Just your YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, if somebody would, they're interested in hearing more, not only about couples, but on my YouTube channel, I do cover a lot on anxiety and trauma and OCD, all different subjects, but they can follow me on YouTube. It's Paige Pradko, Pradko.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I do just want to mention this because I've got it sort of written here and it's staring at me in my notes. One thing I came across with researching this topic is, they said smile more to our partner, hug more, touch, so I think we forget that. You hear couples say we're like, what is it, ships in the night, crossing in the hallway, you just, no hugs, nothing, but the love's there. I mean, there's no sort of real problems, but we just forget to say, well, nothing wrong with a little hug and touch, a smile. When they walk in the room, a smile, something, small thing.
Absolutely. The more positivity that we can bring into our relationships, the more expressions of love and fondness that we can give each other. Whether it's sometimes there's just a look between a couple and that it's an expression of fondness. It's a smile, like you said. It can be a touch as we're in the kitchen next to each other and just a hand on the back or something. All those little things really, really matter. And I like people to even have time where they're, maybe if somebody is driving home from work, or they're some moment in the day where they actually on purpose have positive thoughts about their partner. Wow. If you take moments and just have positive thoughts about your partner, it creates this very positive, loving intention inside of you. And I think your relationship is only as good as you think it is. When you're thinking about your relationship in a positive way, it's amazing how those behaviors come out, but if you're not taking the time to do it, you also don't act on it.
Wow, I'm so glad you said that, because we always hear people talking about, manifest your life, be positive with your workplace, with your goals, with your dreams, with anything, but to be positive about our relationship. And I actually haven't heard anyone say that.
Yeah. It's very true. If we have very positive thoughts and positive intentions, that brings out this appreciation and love in us toward them. So when I went for training, I did start doing that every day. Every day on my drive home from work, I would intentionally have positive thoughts about my husband. Every day that I saw him, I would have, my goal would be, I'm going to speak up and say something loving, positive, gesture, whether it's physical or verbal. I'm going to every day express my love and appreciation of him. And the same in gay and lesbian relationships as well. In fact, in gay and lesbian relationships, there is actually less negativity and much more affection and humor. And so they do a lot of things better than heterosexual couples, actually. They move through a little bit more positive way. They accept influence from each other, which means they're going to lean toward what their partner wants if it's important to their partner.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, everyone can learn from
Yeah,
everyone.
from
Absolutely.
everyone. Right.
And one last thing, love notes. That's a nice one. Or, little
Yeah,
notes. So have a nice day. Here, I've
absolutely.
left a fig for you from the tree, or something. Cute
That
little things like that.
it means so much. It shows your partner like they feel like you're thinking of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So there you go, Peter. I shared the fig thing. We've got a fig tree that fruits like 5 figs a year. And the other day he picked one little fig and he said, "Here, it's figs for you." And then I left
so
half for
sweet.
him because 5 figs a year.
That's so sweet. That's so
You
sweet. That's
know,
such a nice gesture.
that's it. Paige,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining and
You're
sharing all that
welcome.
great information with us.
Oh, great. It was wonderful talking to you today, Bianca.
Likewise, you
you.
have a lovely day. So it's about 8:30 there now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
8:30 in the
Yes, it
morning.
is.
And it's
Yeah.
midnight here, so it's night from me, and have a lovely day to you.
Thank you. You have a good sleep.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.